Everything is Figureoutable by Marie Forleo. Picture this. You're strolling home from school on a perfectly normal Tuesday. As you round the corner to your house, you catch the faint sound of music drifting through the air. But here's the weird part. It's not coming from inside. It's coming from above. You tilt your head back, and there she is, your mom, casually perched on top of your two-story house like it's the most normal thing in the world. "Mom!" you shout, your stomach doing a backflip. "What on earth are you doing up there?" She glances down, completely unfazed. "Oh, hey, honey, some roofer wanted $500 to patch a tiny leak. Can you believe that? I found some leftover asphalt in the garage, so I figured, why not just do it myself?" Now, if this sounds like something out of a sitcom, I promise you it's not. This was just another Tuesday in young Marie Forleo's life. Her mom, armed with nothing but a high school diploma and the determination of someone who simply refused to be stopped, was always tinkering with something. Retiling bathrooms, taking apart broken radios at the kitchen table, surrounded by a constellation of tiny screws, building things, fixing things, making the impossible look easy. One day Marie finally had to ask, "Mom, how do you know how to do all this stuff? Nobody taught you any of this." Her mom looked up from whatever she was elbow deep in and said something that would echo through Marie's entire life. "Nothing in life is that complicated. You can do whatever you set your mind to if you just roll up your sleeves, get in there and do it. Everything is figureoutable." 10 words. That's it. But those 10 words hold a kind of magic. A key that can unlock something powerful inside you that you might not even know is there. By the time we're done here today, you won't just understand this idea. You'll know exactly how to use it to solve problems, chase down your wildest dreams, and become the person you're meant to be. This is what Marie Forleo's book, Everything is Figureoutable, is all about. Oprah herself called Marie a thought leader for the next generation, and this single philosophy is the foundation of everything she's built. It's not just a cute saying, it's a discipline, a mindset, a way of moving through the world that makes you basically unstoppable. Let's kick things off with a question. Why do some people bulldoze through impossible obstacles while others stay frozen in place? Is it luck, raw talent, a trust fund? Marie Forleo says it's none of those things. Here's what really matters. Every action you take, every result you get, starts with a thought. But go even deeper, and you'll find something more powerful. A belief. Beliefs are like invisible puppet strings controlling your life. They're the train tracks that determine where you're going and how fast you'll get there. The crazy thing is, most of us never actually choose our beliefs. We just absorb them like sponges, from our parents, our friends, the culture around us. Beliefs like, "I'm terrible at math," or "I'm not creative," or "you need to know the right people to succeed." But here's the kicker. A belief is just a thought you've been thinking over and over until you decided it was true. And if you decided it once, you can decide something completely different. This isn't just feel-good fluff, by the way. There's actual science behind it. Ever heard of the placebo effect? Doctors have done studies where they perform fake surgeries. Patients get anesthesia, a few little cuts on their knee, and that's it. The wild part? A huge chunk of these patients report the exact same pain relief as people who got the real surgery. Their belief that they were healed actually changed what was happening in their bodies. Your beliefs can literally rewire your brain chemistry. They decide what's possible for you and what isn't. As Henry Ford put it, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. The second your brain hears "I can't," it's game over. It stops looking for solutions. It shuts down. But what if you adopted one powerful belief that kept your brain in search mode? A belief that forced it to keep hunting for answers, no matter how tough things got. Enter, everything is figureoutable. Marie calls this a meta-belief, a master key that unlocks every other door. It's not about pretending problems don't exist. It's about facing them with this unshakable conviction that somewhere, somehow, there's a way through, and you've got what it takes to find it. Now, your brain might already be throwing up objections, but what about death? What about gravity? Not everything is figureoutable, right? Fair point. That's why Marie lays out 3 simple rules. Rule 1. All problems or dreams are figureoutable. Rule 2. If something isn't figureoutable, it's not actually a problem. It's just a fact of life, like death or the laws of physics. Rule 3. You might not care enough to figure out a particular problem, and that's totally fine. Find a dream that lights you up, then go back to Rule 1. This framework cuts through all the noise. It forces you to tell the difference between a brick wall and a hurdle you just need to learn to jump. Once you've got this belief locked in, it's time to face the 2 biggest enemies of progress: excuses and fear. Let's start with excuses. They're those little lies we whisper to ourselves to stay comfortable. The most common ones: I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't know how. Marie has this brilliant way of dismantling them. She zeroes in on one tiny word we use constantly: can't. I can't work out today. I can't start my own business. I can't afford that course. She says that 99% of the time, when we say I can't, what we really mean is I won't. And I won't means it's just not a priority right now. Try it yourself. Swap I can't afford it with I won't afford it. Feel the difference? Can't makes you the victim. Won't put you back in the driver's seat. Being honest that something isn't a priority isn't lazy. It's actually empowering. It frees you up to focus on what truly matters. Let's tackle the biggest excuse of them all: time. I don't have time. Look, we all get the same 24 hours. The truth is, it's never about having time. It's about making time. You make time for what matters to you. If a doctor told you that your life depended on finding 2 uninterrupted hours every day to sit quietly, you'd find those 2 hours. You'd move mountains. So if your dream is important enough, you'll make the time. If not, you'll make an excuse. Marie challenges us to track our time for 1 week, every single minute. What you'll probably discover is kind of shocking. The average American spends nearly 5 hours a day on their phone. That's 76 full days a year staring at a screen. Imagine what you could build, create, or learn with an extra 76 days. The time is there. The real question is what you're choosing to do with it. Same deal with money. It's not about your resources. It's about your resourcefulness. These days, you can learn almost anything for free online. You can start a business with a bunch of free tools. The excuse, I don't know how, is basically toast in the age of the internet. You've got more information at your fingertips than presidents had just a few decades ago. The stories of people who refuse to make excuses are everywhere. Take Dr. Tararai Trent. She grew up in rural Zimbabwe and was married off at 11 years old for the price of a cow. She was told girls don't need education, but she had dreams. She taught herself to read and write using her brother's books and leaves as paper. She wrote down her 4 impossible dreams on a scrap of paper, sealed them in a tin can, and buried them under a rock. Her dreams? To study abroad and earn a bachelor's degree, a master's, and a doctorate. After years of relentless work, surviving abuse and crushing poverty, she made it to the United States with her 5 children. There were times she fed her family from trash cans. But she never gave up. In 2009, she earned her Ph.D., Today, she runs a foundation providing education to kids across Africa. Her motto? Tinagona, which means it is achievable. If she could figure it out under those circumstances, what excuses do we really have? Once you've decided to ditch the excuses, the next big monster shows up: fear. Here's the thing Marie teaches. Fear isn't the enemy. Waiting to stop feeling afraid is the enemy. Everyone feels fear. The difference between people who achieve their dreams and people who don't is the willingness to feel the fear and move anyway. In fact, she flips fear on its head. That nervous, stomach-churning feeling you get when you think about pursuing something big, writing a book, asking someone out, starting a project, isn't a stop sign. More often than not, it's a signal that you're heading in exactly the right direction. The more terrified you are of something, the more sure you can be that it matters to your growth. So how do you deal with it? You don't try to crush it, you get specific. Marie suggests an exercise called fear setting. First, define your nightmare. What's the absolute worst-case scenario if you go for it? Write it all out. Then ask yourself, what could you do to fix the damage? How could you get back on your feet? What you'll usually find is that the worst-case scenario is both unlikely and survivable. Then flip it. What's the best-case scenario? What incredible things could happen if you succeed? When you weigh the potential upside against a worst case you know you can handle, suddenly that leap doesn't seem so terrifying. This is exactly what Marie did when she was 23. Working on Wall Street and feeling like her soul was slowly dying. That little voice inside kept whispering, "This isn't it." She was terrified to quit a stable job with no backup plan. Her worst-case scenario? Failure and homelessness. But her recovery plan? She knew she could crash with friends or family. She knew she could bartend or wait tables to get by. The best-case scenario? Living a life full of purpose, joy, and meaning. The potential reward dwarfed the risk. So she quit. And that single decision changed everything. Now, armed with a new belief system and a new relationship with fear and excuses, you're ready to move. But where? This brings us to the next crucial step, getting clear on what you actually want. So many of us get stuck spinning our wheels. We think and weigh pros and cons in our heads, hoping the perfect answer will magically appear. Marie drops this life-changing wisdom. Clarity comes from engagement, not thought. You can't think your way to clarity, you have to act your way there. When Marie was in her 20s, she felt pulled in about 1,000,000 directions. She was a life coach, but she also felt this deep pull toward hip-hop and fitness, despite having zero formal training. She spent years wondering, should I be a dancer? Could I even do that? The answer didn't come from thinking about it. It came when she finally signed up for a beginner dance class. She was terrified. She felt old and awkward. And 7 seconds into the class, she burst into tears. Not from sadness, but from recognition. Her body was screaming, "Finally, you're listening." That one action gave her more clarity than years of thinking ever could. So whatever you're wrestling with, find a small way to engage with it. Take a class. Volunteer for a weekend. Talk to someone in that field. Action is the express lane to knowing what's right for you. Once you have even a tiny direction, the next principle is probably the hardest for ambitious people to swallow. Start before you're ready. You will never feel 100% ready to do the big important things you're meant to do. That feeling of readiness is a myth. A few months after her first dance class, a producer from MTV was in one of Marie's gym classes and offered her an interview to be a choreographer. Marie's brain screamed, "Hell no, I'm not ready." She was still basically a beginner, but she knew that if she waited until she felt ready, she'd be waiting forever. She took the interview, terrified and nauseous, and landed the job. That one decision to start before she was ready launched an entire segment of her career, leading her to become a Nike elite dance athlete and travel the world. Action creates courage. Action creates motivation. You don't wait for them to magically show up. You generate them by moving. And as you start moving, you need to adopt this mantra: progress, not perfection. Perfectionism isn't about having high standards. It's about fear. Fear of judgment, fear of messing up, fear of not being good enough. It keeps you endlessly tweaking, polishing, researching, but never actually putting your work out there. Marie's first ever workshop was in a friend's basement. 5 people showed up. 2 of them were her parents. She felt ridiculous. But she did it anyway. She started small and messy instead of staying stuck. That cringe-worthy workshop was a crucial step on the path to speaking on stages in front of thousands. Progress is never a straight line. It's a messy, chaotic scribble. There will be setbacks. There will be moments where it feels like you're taking 1 step forward and 4 steps back. That's not a sign to quit. That's a sign you're in the growth zone. You have to be willing to be a beginner. You have to be willing to suck for a while. As radio host Ira Glass says, there's a gap between your taste, which is killer, and your actual ability when you're starting out. The only way to close that gap is through doing a huge volume of work. By focusing on progress instead of perfection, you give yourself permission to close that gap over time. Finally, Marie offers one last layer to this philosophy, the fuel that keeps you going when things get impossibly hard. It's this idea: refuse to be refused. This is about pure tenacity. It's about what happens when someone tells you no. Do you accept it as the final word, or do you get creative? Marie tells this hilarious and nail-biting story about trying to catch a flight to Barcelona with her partner Josh. It was a crucial trip for their relationship. They hit terrible traffic, arrived at the airport late, and were told flat out, "Sorry, you're not making this flight." But thinking about what was at stake for her relationship ignited something fierce in her. She bought a new carry-on bag right there in the terminal, frantically repacked their entire luggage in the middle of the airport, and then sprinted through security and down a half-mile-long terminal carrying a 40-pound bag, with snot and tears streaming down her face. She made the flight. That refusal to accept no wasn't just about a vacation. It was about fighting for what mattered most. This refusal becomes truly unstoppable when your dream is connected to something bigger than yourself, when it's not just about you, but about serving others. Lema Juboe, the Liberian peace activist, witnessed horrific violence during a brutal civil war, but she refused to accept that reality. She organized thousands of Christian and Muslim women in a nonviolent protest. Day after day, they sat in an open field, under the blazing sun and pouring rain. They refused to leave. Their persistence ended a 14-year civil war and earned her the Nobel Peace Prize. When your why is big enough, you can handle almost any how. And this brings us to the heart of the entire book. Why does any of this actually matter? Because the world desperately needs that special gift that only you have. You might think everything's already been done before, but it hasn't been done by you. With your unique voice, your unique perspective, your unique story. For someone out there, you're the only person who can deliver the message they need to hear in exactly the way they need to hear it. If you hold back your gifts, you're actually stealing from those people. According to palliative care nurse Bronnie Ware, the #1 regret of people on their deathbeds is this: I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. You're here right now, with time still on the clock. you have the chance to not have that regret. You were born with this innate power to create change. The dreams in your heart weren't put there by accident. You wouldn't have the dream if you didn't already have what it takes to make it happen. Your job is simply to believe that. To believe that no matter the problem, no matter the obstacle, no matter how scared you feel, everything, truly everything, is figureoutable. When you step back and look at the big picture of this book, what hits you most is its beautiful simplicity. In a world that's constantly selling us complicated formulas and productivity hacks, Marie Forleo brings us back to something fundamental: the power of a single, empowering belief. This isn't just a book for entrepreneurs or artists. It's for anyone who's ever felt stuck. The student staring at a math problem that feels impossible. The person in a job that feels like a dead end. Anyone facing a relationship challenge that seems insurmountable. The message is like a universal solvent for that awful feeling of powerlessness. What I find especially powerful, particularly if you're young, is how this philosophy shifts you from being a passenger in your life to being the pilot. So often, we wait. We wait to feel ready. We wait for permission. We wait for the right time. This book is a loving but firm wake-up call that says, the right time is now. The permission is yours to give yourself, and you're ready enough to start. The real brilliance of Everything is Figureoutable is that it's not about having all the answers. It's about having the courage to live in the questions and trust your ability to find your way. It replaces anxiety with curiosity and despair with creativity. So how can you start putting this into practice today? Not tomorrow, not next week. Right now. Here are a few simple ways. First, pick one small, annoying problem in your life. A messy room, a tough homework assignment, a conversation you've been avoiding. Before you tackle it, say these words out loud. Everything is figureoutable. Notice how that shifts the energy. Then take just one small step towards solving it. Second, for the next 24 hours, pay attention to your language. Every time you catch yourself saying or thinking, I can't, pause. Ask yourself, is it really that I can't? Or is it that I won't? Just noticing this distinction will start rewiring your brain and give you back a sense of control. And third, pull one dream from your heart. Doesn't have to be huge, just something that genuinely excites you, and identify the absolute smallest, easiest, messiest first step you could take. Don't try to plan the whole staircase. Just find that first step and take it today. Remember, action is the fastest path to clarity. That was a summary of Everything is Figureoutable by Marie Forleo. We've covered the main ideas today, but I've got to be honest with you. A summary is like looking at a map of a beautiful country. It shows you the layout, the major cities, the key landmarks. But it can never replace the experience of actually walking those streets, smelling the food, hearing the music yourself. The real magic of this book is in the stories, the energy, and the way Marie's voice feels like having a personal mentor in your corner, cheering you on. This summary is your map, designed to help you decide if this journey is worth taking. If anything we've talked about today sparks something in you, I really encourage you to grab a copy of the book. Reading it isn't just about learning concepts. It's an experience that can fundamentally shift the way you approach your life. You can find a link to the book in the description below. Also, if this journey through ideas was valuable to you, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button. Here on Billionaire's Bookshelf, we dive into a new, life-changing book in every episode, and I'd hate for you to miss the next one. Let's keep exploring, learning, and growing together.